Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good day and welcome to the show. Listen, I'm glad to have you guys here on this August the 13th, Thursday. And listen, welcome to the show. You know what? Isn't it just like government? They drag their heels on everything that they do. And, this is something that they should not drag their heels on. These stimulus packages need to go out to the people. People can't wait. They're going to get evicted from their homes. They haven't got a job. They need money. They need help. And the government just, what do? They argue over everything. They cannot find bipartisan support on any issue. I'm fed up with both parties. Within government. It's the same thing here in Canada. We have basically the same structure. We have the Liberals and we have the Conservatives. But it's similar to the structure of the Democrats and Republicans in the United States. And government, the people need more responsibility from government, more action rather than just all argue. They just argue back and forth and they can't get anything done, and they get paid these exorbitant amounts of money. They end up becoming rich, every one of them. It's horrible what's going on. Let's get the charts open right here and take a look at what's going on. Stimulus impasse likely to drag on into September. So as this drags on, they're not doing anything. But the people, they just can't. A lot of them are just not going to make it. They're not going to make their rent payments. They're not going to be able to buy food. They're going to have to be bread lines, for crying out loud. Soup lines. That's if we're lucky. Maybe there won't be any bread lines or soup lines. Maybe this time, at least during the Great Depression, you could go and have a soup line or something, or a bread line to get something to eat. Now, I don't even think they got them established properly, and they're arguing over everything. Stimulus impasse likely to drag on into September. Why? Why? They need to get that money out there. It says the ongoing impasse of the next COVID-19 relief package is likely to drag on into September as lawmakers have mostly fled their home states. The next jobs report is weeks away, and the spotlight is shifted to the upcoming GOP and Democratic conventions, according to The Hill. It stands Democrats have offered to drop $1 trillion off their $3.5 trillion proposed package if Republicans will add roughly the same to their $1.1 trillion plan. So basically the Republicans are being stingy, and the Democrats are trying to get $3.5 trillion. I'm going to tell you what. Considering how large the United States is, $3.5 trillion would be kind of a stingy package. And the Democrats, that's what they want. And the Republicans, they have a $1.1 trillion plan. That is so stingy in times like these when the people actually need help. That's like somebody out there needs a meal and you give them $0.25. Here, go have a nice dinner. Where's that going to get me? A quarter, that won't even buy me a cup of soup, for crying out loud. You need to give the person $10 so that they can go and have a dinner. Honestly, they're being stingy. A dollar's going to fail anyway. Listen, it's written in the cards. There is no changing this. There's no going back on it. There's no paying off the debt at this point. Why wait until America falls into the trash can before you pump the money out there and keep everything supported? Support everything. Worry about it later, because it's going to go anyway. You know what I mean? I can't begin to tell you this. Is more that it's done anyway. It's finished. The dollar's over. The dollar's toast. The dollar's history. And so are all the other fiat currencies. They're all going down together. All the fiat currencies. There's no saving them anymore. Because it's built on a Ponzi scheme to begin with. And Ponzi schemes always crack up in the end. They can only advance so far. I learned this as a little kid. back down in Florida, when I was growing up as a little kid, I think I was about 14 years old, there was this big earthworm business stuff they had going. And it was actually a Ponzi scheme that they were running to try to get money. And basically, the earthworms, every 2 weeks they double in the population if you got them in the ground. If you feed them, you can feed them any garbage you want. You can feed them leftover food from restaurants and stuff like that, things you can get for free, So these people were growing worms, and it interested me at that age. I didn't understand what a Ponzi scheme was. I thought it was a real money-making opportunity. But what these worm guys were doing is they would sell a person a kit, basically, to grow worms. And then they would sell them a contract that said, we will buy all these worms off of you that you can produce for a huge amount of money. We buy them off of you at the contract. Yeah, they wanted the worms because they wanted to make more kits. So basically what they were doing was taking the person's money, giving them the contract, and then they would make money because, they could grow the worms and bring them back, and they would buy them off of them. But then to make more kits with, to give to more people. And they kept growing this thing until in the end there was more worms coming in from these contracts than they could buy. At that point, they would go and empty the money out and put it in a bag and leave town as fast as they could and leave everybody holding these contracts, And this was a scam that they were pulling. Well, you know what? The same thing with the dollar and all the other fiat currencies is the same sort of scam. And you reach the end of that scam and it all folds in on itself. We're almost to that point where it all folds in on itself. If they were to go ahead and just pour the money out to the people now at this point, they would just rush it along by a few months. In other words, they would make it come a little bit quicker, the end of this Ponzi that's been run since it started. And see, because it's such a big Ponzi, it takes a long time for it to complete. They started it back in around 1914, and it takes about 100 years for this big Ponzi to complete itself, because it's on an exponential. In the first number of years, it's going along real slow, and then it goes into that parabolic curve. Well, we're in the parabolic curve now, and it doesn't really matter, fighting over 1 trillion or 2 trillion. In a couple years from now, an egg will cost $1 trillion. So, at this point, they're only going to move that parabolic curve by a few months this way or that way by helping the people. By getting down and giving the people the money they need. Now, this Democratic Party, 3.5 trillion, sounds more like it's in line with what the people would need rather than just a 1.1 trillion plan, But either way, they need to get off their butts! Because there's people out there that's going to start going hungry. Kids that's not going to have any dinner at night. So they need to get off of their butts. Anyway, let's move on and take a look at the price of silver today. I know this chart's kind of hard to see. This silver chart, silver in US dollars. Let me go to the 1 day, take a look. It's been slowly creeping upwards. We can see it was, this morning it was 25.87, and now it's 26.64, or 26.61 right now. And it's been slowly creeping up into the $26 range as the day progresses. See, it's down in the 25s earlier. Now it's up into the 26s. 26.64 right now is what we're looking at for silver. Gold is doing the same. Well, let me see if I can get the gold spot price chart. We'll take a look here. Gold's doing the same thing. Gold looks like right now is at 1946, and it's been creeping up during the day. Let's take a look now at cryptocurrency and see what it's doing. Cryptocurrency's $356 billion industry, 59.4% Bitcoin dominance. So the altcoins are doing rather well when the Bitcoin dominance drops. Bitcoin price of $11,493 today. The Dow Jones today, it's down 58 points. So they're precious. Like, remember that movie? I think it was that little creature or whatever. I think it was Lord of the Rings or something. And he says, "My precious." That's what the Fed thinks about this Dow Jones. This is their precious right here. It's down 58 points today, 27,918. I'm going to tell you what, they are not going to let their my precious, fall too far. But it might fall so fast that it might be a little bit of an effort for them to get together and get in there and stop it from falling, the Fed, but they will convene meetings if they have to in the middle of the night if this thing falls too far, too fast, and then they'll come out and stop it. They did the same last time. It fell off really big. Remember when the virus first started coming out? It fell all the way down to 18,000 from 29,000. During that period when it was falling, who do you think stepped in and stopped it and brought it back up to where it is now? The Fed. The Fed's the only thing supporting this market. It's not earnings supporting this market. It's not these corporations' earnings and everything. It's not any of that. It's the Fed that's supporting this market. And so this market is being buoyed. If it starts to fall, the Fed's going to come in for support, but at what point? How far can it fall before the Fed steps in and then boosts it back up again? And how much money is it going to take for them to do that? They'll do it, though. They're not going to let this thing go down, because this thing would fall to the floor, honest to goodness, with no Fed support. I mean, some of the biggest, most powerful weapons in the world, are not the nuclear arsenal. It's what would happen if the Fed withdrew, if they were to just crawl into their caves someplace, or crawl into their, and quit supporting everything. Just withdraw all their support from everything. Nothing could stand on its own anymore. Everything would completely collapse to the ground, and everything would just stop working. The power companies, everything runs on money. Everything you can think of that runs on money would just basically stop if the central banks withdraw support at this point. So, it's the ultimate. It's worse than what would happen then would be unthinkable. Basically, telecommunications runs on money. Pup, gone. Imagine just that alone. If it all come to a stop, what would happen after just a few days? I mean, it's unimaginable, but they have to keep supporting everything. Because this is a Ponzi scheme. Ponzi schemes have a parabolic curve. They go up in the end, and it all breaks apart on that parabolic curve, and that's where we're headed. We're headed toward that parabolic curve that's going to destroy the fiat currencies, and they're going to have some sort of new monetary system in place. They're going to have to make some sort of a transition into that new monetary system, and I don't see them making that transition until things get really, really bad, and by that time, the transition's going to be made for them. It's already in place. It's called blockchain. It's already there. And if they're going to fight over everything and all this stuff and bicker just like they're bickering over the finance and these stimulus programs right now. Meanwhile, while they're fighting, this alternative financial system's going to take over. That's the way I see it anyway. I can see it all. Everything that's priced in dollars right now, all of the assets and everything, which is basically the whole world, the value of everything, your house, your car, everything's worth dollars, could transition over into this new financial system and not be worth dollars anymore, be worth what it could happen quickly. And if it happens quickly, that'll cause disruption. So we're living in such an uncertain world right now. Everything could, and I mean, you can kind of thank this virus for getting us to this point so quick. But it's not just the virus. This Ponzi scheme they created back in 1914 is coming to fruition. It's finally reaching the end of the Ponzi. Okay. I know I'm rattling off a little bit this morning, but let's take a look now at crude oil. Crude oil's down 32 cents on the day. U.S. Treasuries. We got a real mixed bag in the Treasuries today. It's just up here and down there. The U.S. 10 years at 0.685, and it's basically unchanged, more or less. And the U.S. 30 years up almost 1 basis point at 1.37. Dollar index today, 93.21, and it's slowly falling off. Stimulus impasse. This is what we were talking about. And they're saying now it's going to drag into September. I'm going to tell you, I don't see any reason for this dragging on and on. They need to get it passed and get it out there because the people need this money and they need it in a hurry. They need another round of $1,200 checks right away. I mean, they're not going to be able to pay any of their bills. They're not going to be able to get nothing done because they haven't been working, you know, and their unemployment benefits are being cut back and everything else. And there's millions of people involved here. It's time for these politicians to get off of their soggy butts and get doing something meaningful for the people. Thank you guys for listening. Like and subscribe, and we will catch you guys in the next show. Bye-bye.